Hello, everybody. Today, or this evening, rather, we're going to talk about handling retics. Not everybody, but a lot of us have children. I have two boys. Chip has two little ones and whatnot, and talking about how we interact with our animals, how our children interact, right ways, wrong ways, just opinions of it. Things that we post, how they can either help our community and help sway people's views on these animals and see that they're not horrible and they're not out to get us and this and that. And but on the other hand, how we do things and what we post, how how it could also hurt us, if we're not doing it the right way. That kind of thing. I know I have seen some crazy shit in my day, at least, my opinion, what I think is crazy. Um, doesn't make any sense how what some people do with their animals, with their children around. Um, at the end of the day, they're still, in my opinion, they're still wild animals. They're predators. And we need to, be smart about things. I have two boys. My oldest boy's 15, Ian. My youngest boy, how is he? 13, and his name is Zane. I'll remember how old they are here in a minute. And they have been brought up around these animals all their lives. So, uh, in all reality, I consider that they're spoiled, because I think this is a blessing and it's a privilege. Um, Not everybody can say that they have that they know what a reticulated python is or anything like that. Much less held one or stuff like that. Minus maybe seen one at a zoo. Um, but yeah, my boys have been brought up around these animals, so a lot of things to them it's like it's really not that big a deal. Ian helps me out a great deal. He loves animals in general. And I think it's good. I think they our children, like everybody says, they're the future. They are, whether no matter what's going on, whether it's the herp world or whatever the case may be. They are the future. But like I said, Ian, he helps me out a lot. He helps cleaning, feeding, all this stuff, interacting with the animals and stuff like that. And they've been dealing with them and holding retics at the ever since they were young. Um, that being said, not by themselves. They've always had. I've always been right there with them. And I try to, ever since they were little and wanted to interact with them, I always try to make sure I'm that we use certain animals, smaller animals, this and that, and just animals that are more docile, more used to the human touch and whatnot. Because sometimes we all know that, especially smaller children, they can be a little rough. Uh, when it comes to anything really. So making sure that it's animals that are more tolerable and that kind of thing, and teaching them the right way and uh, how to hold them, guide them when they're moving, all that stuff. I mean, Ian, he feeds them, he waters them, he cleans, he does all this stuff. He's great, But like I said, he's been uh, around him ever since he was little, and he has a really big passion, great strong passion when it comes to all animals, but definitely reptiles and whatnot, especially reticulated pythons. So as it makes me proud. And some of y'all may know, maybe not everybody, because I don't post it all the time. But what was it, last Sunday? Um, we pulled the clutch, and that was the first time Ian ever seen that. So that was like really, really cool to me to see his eyes all big and everything. And I mean, like I told him, I went out there and I saw that she had laid eggs, He was still asleep. I had his mom go wake him up and make him go check, because I always make him go check while I'm at work. And I came home early that day. So he went out there to go check, not knowing that I already knew. And, oh, there's eggs. He was all happy and everything and excited. And then, the whole process of pulling the eggs, and then setting the egg boxes up and everything. And I mean, it was just, I told him, I said, boy, you're 15 years old and you're a retic breeder. How's that? It was pretty exciting. But anyhow, get back in it. It's, I think us as parents, especially, what I know for me, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, by all means, I want my kids involved in things that I have strong passions for. Zane, he likes the idea of the animals. He likes the idea that we have them and stuff like that. But he don't, he don't like messing with them, or especially when it comes to work, he doesn't want to have nothing to do with that. But like I said, Ian, on the other hand, uh, he loves messing with them. If we ever get the snake room where we want it, there'll be more videos of us handling them and stuff like that. And y'all, everybody's going to see videos and pictures of both my kids, but mainly, Ian, in all the videos and stuff. Uh, but also, I want to touch on where we are right now, especially with people that keep large constrictors. Um, we have to be careful about, like, especially we're going to have children, around us while we're doing things. We need to be mindful of what we're doing, what we're posting, and that kind of thing. Because there's all kinds of ways that people can twist pictures around and stuff like that, and videos, all kinds of stuff. So we have to be mindful about what we're doing, and education is number one, especially when it comes to our children, teaching them the right way. There's a lot of people that post videos of small children. I've seen pictures of children in cages with animals, and all kinds of crazy shit. At the end of the day, it's your animals and your kids. Who am I to tell you? I know I don't want nobody telling me what I'm supposed to do with my children, but at the end of the day, I mean, that's, to me, that's just that's not good, um, at all. But what's your take on things, Chip?
Well, we're pretty much on the same point, but the kids are the future, and um, I've been educating kids about animals, not just reptiles, but animals in general, for almost 17 years now. Um, been part of the Education Connection group. I run that one. Um, I do a lot of schools. I don't do big events because it's not good for the animals, and plus, not all the kids will learn. My two girls have grown up with these animals also. They're not as old as your boys, but when you have kids that grow up with these animals, especially in the right way, they honestly don't look at them any different than a dog or a cat. There's some days my oldest doesn't care. It's like, yeah, snake, whatever. Then there's other days where she's gung ho and wants to clean cages with me and all that. But of course, when her friends come over and she sees the look on their faces, she wants to be interactive. But the way I always did it is very mindful that these creatures are defensive. They're always thinking. They're always looking. They can get stressed out really easy. So you have to know your animals. And when you bring kids into the mix, you need to know how your animal is going to react 100%, not just, oh, my snake's always been nice. Let the kid have it. No, you need to see the behavior, and you need to watch how that animal's reacting, and you need to sit down with your kids and certain age points with certain type of animals. Your children do have to have a comprehension of direction when they're working with them. Excuse me, I still have a sinus infection. Um, it's very important that interacting with these animals with children is done with direct supervision and not lackadaisical. We want the kids to learn and grow up and be able to handle these animals by themselves. But as anybody with kids knows, kids can get really grabby. They can get excited. The younger the kid, the faster the movement. You could have the nicest, most placid snake on the planet, and you hand it to your child, and your child makes a sudden movement out of nowhere because it's a kid, and you could have an accident. Um, the snake will tell you whether it wants to be handled or interacted with. Um, don't just leave your child alone in a room with the animal. Don't sit there and think everything's going to be okay. Not only for the child's safety, but for the animal's safety. Like my oldest, always good, just has a natural ability to handle snakes. My youngest, she's 15 months old. I'm just now introducing her to the stuff, but even with the ball pythons, immediately she wants to grab the head just because. You need to realize that, a snake can get a really bad negative reaction when it comes to a kid. And you have to be conscious. Photo ops are great. I have professional pictures of my kids with snakes. It's really great for the community to see kids interacting with these animals, but doing it in a responsible way. When I bring large animals for educational shows, these kids aren't all running up at once. They have to be a certain distance. When I say they can come in, they can come in. When I say they have to go out, they need to go out. I let them touch where I tell them to touch. They just don't have a free for all. Um, you know, there's a lot of ways to do it. Everybody wants to be an educator because they think they know animals, but not everybody's cut out for it because it's more about the animal than the kid. When especially reticulated pythons, they have personalities and they're always thinking. Um, Setting your really small child in with a snake that you might not have had that long for a photo op is a very bad idea. I've seen so many videos, especially from the UK, where there's very small children put right next to 15, 16-foot retics or 14, 15-foot berms. And you can see the behavior in the head and the muscle twitches and everything else of these animals. And you will give suggestions like, that's not a good idea, and your animal's not liking that. And you get responses like, oh, the animal knows me. The animal knows my kid. The animal was fine. Everything was fine. My animal's nice. They're not reading their animal. They're just assuming. And it can cause a lot of problems in our community and really look bad at us when an accident happens. These animals are great pets. They really are, if you know what you're looking at and you know how to work with them. Raising your kids is vital. Raising all children to love snakes and reptiles is vital. There's so much negative opinions about them. I have changed so many minds with parents and gotten kids to like snakes over the years. It's a wonderful feeling. But taking stuff in your own hands just to be macho or just for a photo op or for good content, it's not always a good thing. And we have to be more mindful of our actions, because the more people post with very compromising positions without knowing their animals, the more other people are going to try and recreate that. And a kid is going to get injured or a snake is going to get hurt. And people don't want to sit back and listen to advice from people that know these animals or had these animals for a very long time. And it's really sad, but our kids are future for this hobby, for reptiles, for conservation, and everything. And we need to post everything in a positive light and get more kids involved. But there is definitely a right and wrong way to do that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think on the most part, we discussed how we wanted to talk about handling how we handle these animals and how we interact with them, especially with children. But I know you have seen it. There's a lot of adults that I don't know what they're doing.
No,
Seen pictures and videos, and I mean, there's been several videos over the years of people being bit by large constrictors because they're not paying attention. They're not, or they get complacent, and you know, so it's not just about you know teaching your children and whatnot. It's also teaching adults, teaching everybody. There's always there's always better ways of doing things. Don't just be no, we do it like this and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, it's definitely about education. It's about you have to learn and understand these animals, uh, especially you want to. I know it's very important to me. I mean, there's times that Ian is out there by himself and he knows what animals uh, that he can mess with by himself, and other ones he's not supposed to. Especially if we're doing cleaning, he is not supposed to pull them out of the cage or anything like that. Uh, Now that being said, the kid is amazing. I think. I mean, I'm so proud of him. I mean, he amazes me on how he handles these animals. Um, it's he's taken everything that I've tried to teach him and show him and just it's ingrained in his head, and then he just has a way with things that it makes me proud to see how he handles the animals, and he definitely can handle retics. uh Not talking shit about anybody, but he does a great job, and he does it a lot better than a lot of adults that I've seen, and a lot of people that have been in this hobby, or say they've been in this hobby for a long time. But still, that being said, there's still rules. You know, hey, you don't mess with these. Even though that I trust him, I literally trust him to mess with anything that we have out there. But he still, it's just being using some common sense, people. And at the end of the day, it's your child. You don't want your child to be hurt, and then you definitely don't want the animals to be hurt. You don't want anything negative to happen. I don't want anything negative to happen with him or the animals. So at the end of the day, it's we harp on this in just about every video, just because it's everything gets tied in about just about any topic that we talk about. It's learn how to read your animals. Uh, even animals that you feel that are uh, I hate using this term, but a lot of people say puppy dog tame and this and that. Even animals like that, sometimes, man, they're having a bad day. Sometimes they don't want to be messed with. Um, so you can't you if all of a sudden you want do a video or take pictures or whatever the case may be, and you become complacent because you're dealing with an animal that has never showed, or at least in your knowledge, showed any type of defensive uh, attitude or aggression or anything like that. But maybe it has, and you just don't know what to look for. And then you put your child, hey, come hold this, and you take a picture, and something bad happens. One, now you're freaking out. The child don't want to have anything to do with the animals, probably. Uh, the animal is all jacked up, and it's got negative, feelings towards what's going on. If you're married and whatnot, your wife, whoever probably don't want to get rid of everything. It bit my baby. I mean, there's so much shit to go on, and then what if it gets leaked out and it gets you posted or whatever, and or somebody hears about it and they tell the story about it. I mean, there's so much stuff that can happen. But on the other hand, I think my opinion is that on the most part, 9 times out of 10, things aren't going to happen. And a lot of good interactions happen. And what better way to show the beauty of these animals with a child, you know? Um, a child's, they're the wonder that they have, is that the right? I'm trying to think,
Yeah, the wonder and curiosity.
it's a beautiful thing, even with older people that you know had never had a chance to deal with an animal like this, you can actually see what it's about, and being able to interact with them and share that with other people, share it with other people that might be scared of these animals, or and it's important. I think it's a good thing, but you know posting videos on TikTok of having a baby throw a fucking large rat in a room with a large berm,
A
shit like
live large rat.
exactly. The baby could have been bit by the rodent. Okay, oh my god, I can't believe I don't. It's stuff like that is aggravating. It's because it only takes a split second for something horrible to happen. The bad thing about it is that any of us at any given time, no matter how much knowledge we have, how confident we are, no matter how good we are with these animals, something could happen to the best of us, you know. And it's one thing, heaven forbid, if one of us get bit, or whatever, but it's something totally different when it happens to a child. If it happens to a child and it gets out there, then all hell's gonna break loose. So it's I don't know, man. People need to use some common sense with this shit. You know?
Well, yeah, and to top off with that is I've been called a hypocrite a few times, and I'm going to stress this story that I'm about to tell with we're always learning, but there's a difference between when I was learning to nowadays. I've been around large reptiles, not just large snakes. We're talking alligators and big lizards and stuff my entire life to the point back to where I can remember. Um, there's times where I wasn't around them, but pretty much my whole life. The way we dealt with things back then, we're talking 80s, it wasn't, this was all wild caught stuff. This was stuff that we didn't know, whatever. We had them because they were different, they were new, they were cool. We didn't care that they were mean or frightened or whatever you want to call it. And we did a lot of stupid things. We took a lot of unnecessary risks. We handled them very improperly. A very common thing was, if you had an aggressive animal, grab it behind the head and just restrain it. I don't do that with one single one of my animals right now. It doesn't matter if it's having a bad day or not. I will never go behind its head, because we have learned that that is the ultimate way that trust is gone from that snake. That snake's having a bad day. I put myself in very compromising situations with a lot of big reptiles, very dangerous situations at young ages. I have learned from that over the years, and how to handle these situations and how to read my animals. I'm learning to this day how to read these animals and how to interact with them better. I don't see anybody really wanting to learn anymore. The new stuff that I'm learning, I'm passing that on to my kids. Because even with new people getting in, when I go and tell them, don't do this, don't do that, and I tell a story from back in the day, I get called a hypocrite. Well, we learn as we get older. We learn with our experiences. And there's so many new different things that come out that we learn about. I mean, I still hear very outdated stuff that everybody I think should know by now to this day coming from people. And, it's really sad, but, I'm all about educating you. But if you don't want to listen, I'm going to start to get harsh. And if you still don't want to listen, then I'm going to write you off. You're a lost cause. And there seems to be a lot of those lost cause people out there. And those are the people that are getting these animals strictly to be show offs. And or we're getting these people that want to claim they're educators just because they've had a snake for 5 years and they want to educate people on how great these animals are. Educating isn't about going and shoving a snake in people's face and getting them over their fear. That's great. Awesome. But that's all you've done. You don't tell people about the snake, what type of behavior they have, what you should look for, what how you should handle an animal, what you should do in a situation, how to read an animal. That none of that's going on. And it's really sad because these people that are quote unquote educators are going and showing this stuff to kids, and kids are getting a very narrow minded view, and they're getting a view of a guy that walks in or a girl. Look at my big snake. Look how awesome it is. And they go get a little older and they go buy a snake. They haven't learned anything because they've got that one impression, or they watch YouTube videos. And it's a repeating cycle. We need to teach our kids that these are very smart animals and there's a way to interact with them and a way to do things with them. I have learned a lot. I have come a very long way, but we're approaching, 30 years of being around retics alone. You know, 3 years old is my earliest memory of being around large reptiles. So, that's approaching 40 years, It's it's stuff that you gotta really take into consideration, and these animals aren't to be underestimated. They have a brain. They're one of the smartest snakes out there. And just because you see somebody else do it doesn't mean that you should do it. You should learn. Always educate yourself. I don't care if you have an eighth grade education. You can always learn about your animal and study it before acting like a hot shot and putting kids at a potential risk.
No, I agree with you 100%. And the thing about it is some form, shape of whatever, I don't know how to say it. We're all hypocrites to a certain extent, because I mean, I'm sorry, at the back in the day, we were putting these animals in wrong type of caging. Uh, I know I had them in glass fucking tanks too, until I got other stuff, and whether it was built or whatever. Um, so we're all hypocrites, but we know better ways of doing things now. So you know, at the end of the day, we the hobby had to get to where it is somehow. And just like anything else, the world is just a big place for us to fuck up in. That's all it is. And my whole reason why I say that is because you learn from your mistakes, or you at least you're supposed to. If you're not learning from your mistakes, then there's an issue. So yes, we handled animals wrong, incorrectly. We housed them, we did all these things and everything like that, but we've learned from our mistakes. Somebody had to fucking do it. You know what I mean? Somebody had to do these things to get us to where we are now. And I'm not saying it's me or it's Chip, or anything like that, but I'm just saying people that have uh that been in here, been doing this for a while, and it had to come from somewhere, you know. And like Chip has said, you gotta, if you're not gonna take the the I don't say the advice, the criticism or whatever, and try to do better, then what are you doing? you know, especially if we're going to have children or just new people involved. It doesn't necessarily have to be children, even though that, I'm kind of wanting this video to be around that because we see so many things that are just messed up, or my opinion are messed up. Because, like I said, it's one thing if one of us make a mistake, because I guarantee you and I promise you, it's not the snake's fault. It's always going to be our fault. If we make a mistake and we get bit, whatever the case may be, whatever happens, and it's totally different if it's a child, um teenager, I don't care, if it's a child, it's going to be 10 times worse. You don't want that getting out, so we need to do better. um like I said, I'm not trying to tell, I would never try to tell anybody how to raise their child or anything like that unless I knew for a fact there was abuse or something like that going on. I would never do any of that. Wake up, Chip. God damn it. Uh, um, but we definitely need to do better. I don't want to pick on anybody, but earlier Chip, he said that, he talked about stuff that we've all seen from certain keepers in the UK and whatnot. I understand the, I guess the what they're trying to do, trying to prove like the intelligence of these animals and how they can decipher from person to person and all that, because they can, in my opinion they can. But I don't think putting a child in an unsafe situation is the right way to do it. But at the end of the day, it's not my child, it's not my animals, so whatever. uh I just hope that nothing bad happens. I don't want to see it. I definitely don't want to see it. But it goes further. It's not just children, it's everybody. It's handling the animals right. Once again, we have to know how to read them. What are you teaching? um I know in some of these videos and some of the that I've seen, I never hear anybody giving explanations on how the animal's acting. you know
Yeah.
it's acting this way. This is what you look for if you want to handle it, if you want to, you know what I mean. It's just basically, here, look at me.
Yeah.
So what are you trying to fucking, what are you proving? What is your, you calling it a study, but you're not teaching nothing. I don't hear anything being taught. So at the end of the day, hey, you gotta like, good for you. And hey, we're all thankful that nothing happened to your child, you know? So I don't know. I just think we need to be a lot more responsible, especially when we're trying to show these animals in a better and different light, you know?
Well, look at like down in Bali or some of the Indonesian countries. They live with these animals. There's animals. I've heard stories and seen pictures of where these big snakes live inside these people's houses like it's their dog. And they don't have incidences. Now, we've heard stories on Sulawesi and Sumatra and all that. But on these other islands, these people revere these retics and they don't kill them. And they consider them pets no different than dog or a cat. And they can interact with them because they know their behavior. They live with them. They see them all the time. They've grown up with these animals. And it's not just like one household, it's communities. And so they respect the animal and they understand how it works. Us in the
Respect.
West, yeah,
You
us
got
in
to
the
respect
West,
them.
yeah, us in the West, we don't have that mentality. It's, oh, let's be King Kong here and we're Mr. Badass and all this other stuff, and we don't want to take time to understand these animals.
We have an arrogance. about
Yes.
ourselves that we rerun shit. It doesn't matter. We're king shit. We are the ruler. You are the beast. You are the whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's no respect. These animals can hurt you. They can kill you. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, buddy. I
No,
just
it's fine. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. It is respect, but I see a lot of these new people getting into the big retics, not the dwarfs or the super dwarfs, and they want to have that attitude. I've been around these animals for so long. We've talked about this in other videos. A 14-foot animal doesn't seem that big to me. Not anymore. Maybe when I was younger, it did. It does not really seem that big to me. I show that same animal to my neighbor. They're gonna crap their pants because they've never seen a snake that big. But I can go out herping and find a 6.5-foot bull snake, which is huge for a bull snake, and get completely excited and go, "Whoa! Look at the size of that bull snake! It's huge." Even though I might have a monster python at home, it's relative. That for that species, that is huge, and I get excited. Look how big that snake is. Like on my birthday when I was out at the lake, I found a fresh shed of a bull snake that was probably pushing 8 foot long, and I got super excited because I'd never seen one that big in the wild, and I was looking for it, never found it, but it gets me excited because like, oh wow, that's huge. But I see these people that get into these snakes and they'll go talk to somebody with a ball python, and immediately I'll know whether they're in it for a right reason or not, because someone will say, "Oh, you have a retic. I have a ball python. Yeah, well, mine's bigger, or, oh, I can't handle this," or that macho attitude. And it's stupid. I've got a 4,000 gram ball python, which is huge for a ball python. And I think that's like awesome. It's big. It's all relative to the species. If you're getting into retics because you just want a big snake, you're getting into it for the wrong reasons. I mean, and going back to the kid thing, I see a lot of disheartening stuff where there's these people that their first snake is a retic, and they'll buy a sub adult and they'll go show it off on Instagram or Facebook. And they've had this snake for a couple months and they're throwing it around their kids' shoulders. You don't know anything about that snake owning it a couple months, especially a sub adult you never raised. And you have no idea how that snake's attitude is, or what the behavior is, or what its personality is. But you got this cool snake that you want to throw around your kid and whatever and get Facebook likes or whatnot. And it's very irresponsible, not just for the community, but you as a parent. If you brought home a dog from the pound that you had no idea if it was good with kids or bad with kids, or it had a bad experience with kids and it has a trigger, and you brought it home from the pound and you just stuck it in a room with your toddler, it's no different. What if that dog had a bad experience with the kid and that dog ended up biting that baby and hurting that baby? The first thing we do is we in the news or in the pet community, we say it wasn't the dog's fault. And that's generally accepted. We don't blame the dog. We blame the kid. Take that scenario and put it with a 7-8 foot python. It's not we blame the kid at that point. They automatically go, the killer snake. Shouldn't have your kid around a snake. And people don't think about that mentality when they're doing stuff like this and the repercussions it has with our community, because you don't want to take the extra time to learn an animal and bring it around your child. You just want to photo op or act macho because you have a larger constrictor species. Our community doesn't look like us. More kids are killed by horses and dogs each year than any reptile on this planet. Look what just happened in Disneyland. Those alligators have been there since they've built Disneyland. But one kid got hurt, and it wasn't an alligator for going after a kid to eat it. It was breeding season, and an accident happened, and an alligator bit a child. And of course, when you have an animal that's 8 foot long, most likely when it comes to a kid, it's going to be fatality. And then it's an opportunistic feeding at that point. But they go in, and instead of saying, people stay clear of the water during this time of year, they go in and they completely either kill or remove every single alligator within a 5 mile radius of Disneyland. Because the world does not look at reptiles like we do dogs, cats, and horses. People literally every single day are either severely hospitalized or killed by horses. But you will see a kid, as soon as they can walk, being put on the back of the horse and letting it go. I grew up with horses. I know this. Those animals can kill a person like that, and it happens every day, but nobody says anything about horses and kids. Nobody. But you do something irresponsible with a reptile or a snake and a kid, everything is going to be taken away from you.
Well, yeah, 100%. I want to touch on something, a little while ago you were talking about like dwarf and SD stuff. I think it's awesome. Yeah, I like all retics. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's dwarf, SD, whatever, I love retics. But that being said, you can't get complacent with these animals just because they're smaller or stay smaller than mainland stuff. Those things can kill somebody just as quick. Wrapped around somebody's neck, it doesn't take much. So you need, that comes with education and everything that we're talking about in this video. I think with more breedings and whatnot, they'll calm down. But I personally, when it comes to somebody having, a first time snake, you like retics, so you want something smaller. If it's your first animal, I don't agree with an SD or a dwarf. Not because I feel like they're aggressive or anything, but my experience is that they're flighty. Okay, they like to move a lot. If you don't know what you're doing, you might take that as them being aggressive or defensive or whatever. You're gonna end up hurting that animal. You're gonna get hurt. Bad experience, all kinds of things. So having something like that around a child that doesn't know what they're doing, or the parent, the person that's supposed to be looking over things, if they don't know what they're doing or what to look for, then that could turn out to be shit too. So at the end of the day, like everything that Chip is saying, you get an animal, you need to learn it first. I don't, it doesn't matter how much knowledge you have, or how many animals you've kept or anything like that. If you have a new animal, take some time, be patient, take some time, get to know the animal, let the animal get to know you and everybody else that might interact with it, or before you start doing shit, plain and simple. It just takes a split second for something bad to happen, just a split second. And if you don't know what to do, or if you're not around, something extremely bad can happen. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants that in the papers. Nobody wants to read about it. Nobody wants to see it on TV, because the majority of us, we see these animals for what they are. They're wonderful. They're beautiful. They're amazing. And we want to share this passion that we have with our children and other people. And it's great when you can do that, and we're trying to change the way people think, everybody, about, how they think about these things, because it's not just retics and stuff like that. If Chip has retics, he has ball pythons, whatever, and he's able to show them a certain way, and people realize that these are not, out to get you and stuff, then the snakes that are, your rat snakes and stuff like that, they'll look at them differently, hopefully, you know. But it all boils down to being educated, not being so arrogant where you feel like you can't be educated even more, learning more, and then teaching the proper way to handle these animals when it comes to our children and new people that are coming into this hobby. Um, because all it takes is, once again, a split second for something bad to happen. And if you don't know what you're doing, it only takes a split second for that animal to take whatever it is you're doing wrong and to react. So I don't know what else you got, buddy.
Well, I just want to bring up, we're talking about all this with the kids and everything else, but U.S. ARC right now is really trying to fight everything. People, again, well, however many this reaches, please share it with this message that I'm about to say, so this gets out there. They can only help us so much. They're doing legal battles in court, and everything negative is used against us. I don't care what your ego is. I don't care what your stance is or how much of a hard ass you think you are, or what you want to stand up for your rights. But the truth of the matter is, posting content that can look harmful, it's all about perception with kids and everything else, that and the way you interact with these animals. Posting that kind of stuff really goes against what US ARC is trying to do. But there's too much at stake from every level, including large constrictor keepers, that take a second and think about what the rest of the world would think if they saw your picture. If you think even one person would be frightened or shocked over the picture that you shared, don't post it. Same with a video. Just have some common sense. The reptile world, nothing's going to faze us. It's not about us anymore. It's about what we're perceiving to the general public. And just because your groups might say private doesn't mean the world isn't seeing it. Private is BS when it comes to Facebook and Instagram, and everybody should know that now. We constantly James just got banned for saying a certain word. He just got back. So they're watching everything in every group, private, public, whatever. We really need to step up and support US ARC, not only monetarily, but with our actions and how we perceive ourselves to the general public. The general public is all that matters right now. They are the ones that are in bigger numbers that can influence politicians and get special interest groups to put money to get our rights taken away because they don't like creepy, crawly, scaly things. Turning and changing minds is great, but you're not going to get 1 million people to change their minds overnight. And right now we're in the middle of a fight, and US ARC is all we got. So not only send your support by donating to help the fight, but support them by making content that makes us look good in all lights. No stupid pictures, no dangerous handling, no macho attitudes, no live feedings, no bite pictures. Yes, we all know it happens, and that's part of an education, but not right now, and not anything that you can think of for any excuse that the public needs to know, because every little bit is being used against us. So put your egos aside and just make good, wholesome, educational content that makes us look the best to the general public.
Yeah. I mean, it's exactly, everything you said right there. I agree with. Hopefully everybody agrees with. It cannot be said enough about supporting US Arc. I always, please support them. Become a member. Try to get others to become a member. And it's not just retic and large constrictor people, it's everybody. Um, Once again, if you're at a show and you see if there's a US Art table there, buy a bumper sticker, buy a shirt if you have the money, donate $1. It doesn't matter. Every little bit helps. You know, we gotta we that's all we got. That's who we have fighting for us. So we need to do our part, and we need to do our part when it comes to trying to change people's way of thinking. Everything's a perception. Everything. Um, so I mean, it is what it is. That's just where we're at with it. Um, we all know about we know what happened in Florida. Um, we know what's going on in North Carolina. It's not good. It's not good, and it's not just going to stop there. And I don't care what state you live in. Oh, you're in Texas or North Dakota or wherever, where you have, you can do this and you can do that. It doesn't matter. They're gonna try to come into these places and take our rights away. Um, Donate, become a member, be smart, try to educate people, do the right thing. Um, you know, uh, everything education makes everything better when it comes to these, because there's a lot of ignorance when it comes to dealing with not just large constrictors but reptiles in general. I mean, you think about, I mean, I have pit bulls. A lot of people do. A lot of people realize, how great they are. Uh, you think about all the ignorance when it comes to them, you know. Um, but then in the day, man, just be smart about stuff. Just like just like what Chip said. I want to thank everybody uh, that's supporting the page, that's supporting the YouTube uh, page as well. Please like, share, hit the bell, subscribe, leave comments. Please leave comments. I don't tell me it sucks. Tell me it's great. Give us ideas, things that you want to hear, people you want to see. You can send messages to both of us on Facebook. You can leave messages on the Retake Exchange Facebook account or personal accounts. But liking the videos helps so much. Sharing the videos, leaving comments help so much. Um, so once again, I want to thank everybody. Um, so for the support and most all the good feedback that we're getting back, definitely appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So I think this video is a little bit shorter than what we normally do, but we're gonna call it a night. Once again, thanks everybody. Leave a comment. Talk
Tune
to
in
y'all later.
next week, and hopefully we'll have a big guest next week.
That's right. That's right. And once again, in the comments, man, just let us know who you'd like to see. All right. Thanks, everybody. Talk to y'all later.
Have a good night.